Hotel workers, what are your scariest experiences? Got into a lift from the top floor to head down. Lift stopped at 4th floor, door opened, saw people outside standing still, making no attempt to come in despite me being alone inside, and there was room for them. The automatic lift door then closed, and before it was completely shut, I heard someone outside said, "Why is the lift so full of people?" FML. Plot twist. The back of the lift was a mirror, and the people on the 4th floor are a bunch of idiots and saw themselves staring back. Worked in a motel when I was 17 to 18. I was at the front desk, not working when the housekeeping guy called me to check something out in a room that was being cleaned. I go up there, and the housekeeping guy is standing in the middle pointing up to the ceiling. There was a set of bare footprints on the ceiling, which is at least 10 feet high. Odd, not shoes or slippers, and only in the middle and nowhere else. There's no way he jumped that high upside down, and no prints on the walls either. Also, he left a single bullet on the bed. I don't work in a hotel, but my job requires me to travel a lot. The most unexplainable experience for me happened during my stay in a hotel I frequent. After a long day, I tried to get some sleep as I had to get up early the next morning, but for some reason, I would hear this noise from the room above me. It sounded like someone dragging a table or chair across the floor, as if they were rearranging their room. At first I thought nothing of it, but this continued every few minutes for about 2 hours. I finally got fed up and called the front desk. They sent security to check it out. Turns out there's nobody in the room above. The noise continued after, and I had no choice but to switch to another room. I was once in a hotel with my sister, and we were walking through the halls. Then we decided to have fun and see what staff doors were open. We got into the weight room. It was 3 a.m., was supposed to be locked, and started screwing with the weight equipment. Just as we are about to leave, this one employee gets up from the dark corner and walks out in front of us. We rush out just to see him walk down the stairs. Still in the mood of adventure, we head to the stairs and see her going down and down. She went to the basement and then gone. The stairs ended in a cutoff area, and there was nowhere to go, but she was gone. Creeped out, we took a zigzag path back to our room to not be followed. I used to work for a big-name chain property in California, high touristy area. Relatively safe because of the high traffic of people. The people who stayed were mainly business people and families on vacation. Not at all on the same level of sleazy motels. One morning, one of the housekeepers comes running to the front desk and is freaking out. Turns out one of the guests discovered a bag of unattended, loaded guns in the fitness room. We have no idea who it belonged to and cops are called. Management instructs me to sit in the fitness room and guard the gun bag and not allow anyone to take it while we wait for the cops to arrive. They didn't even lock me into the fitness room in case the owner decided to come back and retrieve their cache of guns. Mind you, I'm a 5 feet, 115 pounds girl with no self-defense skills. By then, word is sweeping through the hotel that there is a loaded gun in the fitness room, so I was half expecting some criminal dude to burst in at any minute. As someone who never encounters this sort of shit, this was definitely high on scariest moments while working. If this was in the South, the front desk would probably ask around to see who forgot their gym gun. I worked at a Holiday Inn years ago and only can recall a few weird cases. One was that every now and then we would get complaints that a young girl was screaming in the pool area. When checking it out, you would find that nobody was around. Management reported that a young girl drowned in the pool years earlier. One night, I was working the front desk and received a call from a room complaining that the room above them was stomping around and being noisy. Nobody was checked into that room, and nobody was there when I checked it out. Guess a wife killed her husband in the room. Also, after the murder, the room was turned into storage, and despite it being empty, the front desk would get random calls from that room. I'm sure all of it is explainable, but shit was weird to me. Not me, but my cousin worked in a pretty popular hotel in New York City. There was a particular room that was always unoccupied, and the hotel workers would use it to take naps. My cousin threw her coat on a chair that was facing the window and took a nap in the bed. She said she felt the weight of someone getting into the bed, and she immediately sat up. There was no one in sight, but her coat was now on the bed, and the chair that had been facing the window was facing the bed. Could have easily been her coworker creeping, but still spooky. Worked as a chef for a Hilton. Remember speaking with one of the managers of a different downtown hotel, very high-end, and he told me this story. Manager was on his way out of the hotel after working one evening and saw a homeless guy a ways out sleeping on the lawn. He decided to walk back in and tell the front desk employees to try and get him off property. Came back in for work the next morning and saw the same homeless guy still sleeping on the lawn, so he ran in to chew out the front desk manager about how the employees didn't do as he asked. They both walked out to get the bum to leave, and they found the bum was wearing a nice suit coat. Turns out it was a wealthy businessman who had jumped off the 12-story balcony and had just been dead there all night and half the day. Turns out no one saw him fall. Sad story, actually. This happened to me as a guest at a hotel, the Radisson in Gastown, the old part of Vancouver. The first thing was that we both saw a figure walk past the window late at night. Only thing was, our room was on about the 4th floor and faced a wall. There was no fire escape outside or anything else someone could walk on. A couple of nights later, my bed suddenly gave a massive jolt. I was laying still, updating LJ on my laptop. My friend also saw the bed move. It was a divan, no legs to wobble or collapse. It just felt like the whole bed had been shunted hard. We asked the desk staff whether anyone had reported anything, and they said there were stories about some of the rooms, but as far as they were aware, not ours. I stayed at a rented condo with my wife. The toilet broke and flooded the bathroom when no one was in it. We left the fan/light on to let the floor dry, but the light switch would turn itself off. I got up to investigate. I saw a shadowy figure standing across the living room, about 15 foot away. It was dark to begin with, so I assumed I was seeing myself in a mirror or something. Nope, it was a doorway to an unused bedroom. This all happened in a 3-hour time span. The hotel I work at is an oldish building and likes to play up the rumors of ghosts in the hotel. In life, she supposedly jumped off the roof after some bad news. Okay, really bad news. Late at night, I was sent to the top floor conference space to set it up for meetings the following day. I needed to set up a coffee station on the center wall. The large dining room/seminar space was dark. The light panel is a ludicrous assortment of dials, switches, and power levers. It had been expanded and kludged over its 50 years. I hit/toggle them all, no lights. Drop all the levers, spin all the dials, nothing. Pissed off that now I have to search for someone who knows the lights, I slam the panel door, spin on my heel, and walk towards the lit exit. As I'm walking, 3 lights directly over where I was meant to set up the station fade on. I look around, say thank you, ma'am, and proceed to set up the coffee station. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it in my short stint working in a hotel, but a friend of mine owns a few in a nice area on the East Coast. He said it's really sad how many people come to hotels to commit suicide. They don't want their families to find them, so the logical place to have some privacy is a hotel. Unfortunately, this always means that some unprepared member of the hotel staff gets to find them. I can't even imagine what that would be like. Uneasy face. My wife used to work night audit at a hotel on the Oregon coast. She experienced quite a bit there with guests and the unexplained. Mostly room 303 was their least rented room. Whenever she walked past it at night, the alarm clock in the room would go off. Housekeeping would claim that it was unplugged. The front desk has a logbook of guest complaints, and most of those complaints were about room 303. Some examples are pounding on the walls, feeling watched, seeing people, phone or alarm going off, TV turning on or off, bathroom light going on or off, hearing whispers or breathing, and many more. Not of the unexplainable, but she had creepy guests try and pull her into their rooms, invite her to parties, call her at all hours of the night. I can't imagine how stressful it would be to be there alone at night, as a 100 LLB girl. I was once given a great piece of advice, by a teacher nonetheless. Her story detailed how she once rented a hotel for a business trip. Trying to fall, a sleeper hand slipped onto the side of the bed, and she felt something off. She flipped out thinking it was a bug or something weird like that, but upon inspecting she decided to flip the entire mattress over. The moment she flipped it, she realized it was absolutely soaked in blood, and someone simply flipped the mistress so as to not get caught. LPT. Inspect your rooms, and specifically your beds. I was working in St. Petersburg teaching accountancy. A guy flew out to join the team. He sat in the bar silently watching all the working girls. Next, I got a call from security. Could I come to this guy's room? Apparently, the maid had gone to turn down the bed, give him his mint, etc. He panicked, thought she was a working girl, and slammed the door, breaking her nose. Finally, we negotiated him out of the situation, but the poor wee woman was covered in blood. This will get buried because I'm late to the party, but I work the audit at a major chain. In fact, I'm working now. It's not really scary, but it was weird and messed with my head. One night, I walked into the kitchen and it sounded off. It's a kitchen, so it's all tile and metal, so it has a unique ambient reverb. This one time it sounded dead though. My footsteps didn't click like they should on tile. The door didn't creak the way it usually does. The refrigerator sounded a little more deep. It was like a Foley artist replaced all of the sound effects with different ones. I chalked it up to a glitch in the Matrix and went on with my life. I don't work in a hotel, but a few years ago, my company put me up in a little town along the Florida coast. It was a motley building and half of it was closed off due to construction. As I walked back to my room, I saw a guy in a semi selling things out of the back of his truck. That was weird. I get to my room, and there are some highly visible spider webs that are somewhat off-putting. So I turn on the television, and it catches fire. So I call the front desk and ask them to come back with a fire extinguisher and tell my company that they need to find me somewhere else. Was working in an older, some say haunted, pub. It used to have rooms on the second floor, but not anymore, due to ghosts and murder. The kitchen was always bad for strange shit. One night, it is about 2 a.m., and there is only myself and a gaming attendant on site. I go into the kitchen, and the phone starts ringing. It's a redirected call. The tongs and pots and pans are all clanking and rattling. I pick up the phone, and there is no one there. Complete silence. I return to the gaming room and ask the other worker, "How did you know to transfer the phone call into the kitchen?" She didn't know I was over there and couldn't see me. Gaming attendant said, "Phone hasn't rung in hours." "What are you talking about?" Immediate terror ensues. Oh yes, approximately 8 years ago, one of the old drunks who lived upstairs killed one of the other old drunks with a bar stool. Body discovered next day by admin lady. Building has been a hotel for near enough 150 to 200 years, so has some stories to tell. They were remodeling a wing of the casino. As security, I had to patrol around it every once in a while to make sure no one had drunkenly snuck in. I'm walking through late at night, and I hear a baby crying. I walked the halls hoping it would get louder, but it stayed at the same faded volume. Then I started opening doors hoping for the crying to get louder, or for the crying to stop. With the same luck as walking around, I decided I was hearing things and went to the elevator to go patrol another floor. In the elevator lobby, there was a blank easel set up. Still pondering the easel, I walked into the elevator. Halfway up, I absent-mindedly saw a man with a hat and suitcase in the reflection and the mirrors on the doors. We went up 3 floors to the 5th floor. When the door opened, another blank easel was set up in the exact same spot. I turned around to check for the man, to find myself alone. The baby had stopped crying, but now I felt a cold chill. I went straight to the stairs and back to the casino floor. I've worked in a motel for 2 years now, and the scariest thing that ever happened while I was there was a guy who shat on everything. Everything! Mirror? Shat on toilet? Shit everywhere except the bowl. Bed? Cake and shit. TV remote? Buried in a shit pile. And there was a guy who puked in the hot tub and stayed in it. Quite a few. One, lady with the deepest voice I have ever heard ringing reception asking for tampons. 2, thinking we were being broken into, but discovering a few guys just smoking a joint in the back. 3, when the lights go out. The hotel where I work is a 14th century, old English building, creaky as you like. When the electricity goes out a few times a year, it is horrible. The place goes silent, and every creak seems 1,000 times louder. I worked at a hotel that also has a mansion on site. It used to be used as a restaurant, but is now just for events. So sometimes when we run out of ice at the Gold Course, we have to go into the basement of that freaky place and get ice. Well, I had to go by myself once, and I was really nervous. You've probably seen those big ice chests where the lid raises up. The lid goes all the way back on this one. As I was leaning in and scooping ice, I heard shuffling. I turned around to look and saw nothing, then the lid slammed shut on the ice chest. I left the buckets and ran back to the course, refusing to go back. Shit was scary. Not me, but my older sister works as keeping rooms clean in a high-end hotel in LV. They are supposed to knock on the door and announce their presence to the hotel guest. The guest didn't answer, and so she's allowed to go into the room to clean it. So she entered the room, and as she entered the bedroom, she saw a dude sitting in the corner jerking off. Just there, sitting there, and he just shrugged and said, "No thank you." She freaked and left. Then a few hours later, another worker attempts to try again, and she quickly came out of the room. She has quite a lot: stories, EDC, dildos, and cheap celebrities. Edit. Not really scary or paranormal, but totally creepy. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.